Professor Mani?
Yes, please.
So we can go live now. Just give me a moment, please. A very warm welcome to you, Professor Mani. We're now live both on Facebook and on YouTube, and the students can see us and listen to us live on the Careers 360 YouTube and FB channels. Just to give your introduction to all our audience today, Professor Mani has been a founding member of the ITM group, which was founded some 25 years ago. He is currently the VP of Institutional Development and the Chief Mentor of ITM's MBA program. Regarding his academic background, he graduated from the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, completed his MBA from TIS Mumbai, and was a gold medalist there. He's won several awards over the course of his career and has been a mentor, especially in the field of HR, to many companies, and is known to be a management and an HR guru. The topic that we are taking up today is careers after graduation, and I'll ask the professor to take it from here. He will give a brief about what he's going to speak about, and then we'll take live questions, which professor will answer one by one.
Thank you, Robin, for all those good words, and good morning, everybody who is here with us for this very special session on what after graduation or careers after graduation. Before I go on, Robin, just a quick check. Am I coming across clear?
Yes, sir. You're audible, loud and clear.
Wonderful. So the first thing that I'd like to tell all the participants who are here today, assuming that most of you are graduates, is please do not consider that graduation is the completion of your educational journey. I'd like to reiterate this message very early in this session, that we would strongly recommend to every young boy and girl in this audience that please continue and complete a master's, which means complete your post-graduation. My best advice to you, with all the gray hair on my beard, is please do this without taking a career break to the extent possible. The moment you complete your graduation, assume you're doing it this year, notwithstanding the lockdown and the problems that we are facing today, try your best to join a master's program this year itself. To set the perspective right, there are two types of master's programs. One is what we call the technical master's program, which means if you have studied a bachelor's in pharmacy, you are logically likely to do a master's in pharmacy. If you've done a bachelor's in management, you can possibly do a master's in management. If you have done a specialization as BCom, you could do a master's in commerce. So technical specializations are those which are in the core area which you have studied. The other one is managerial, which means the most famous course which everyone aspires to do, the MBA. Any graduate can move towards MBA at any given point of time in their careers. So keep this in mind. The first decision that you need to take is whether you would like to do a master's in the technical area or you would like to do a master's in the managerial area. This is the first decision that you need to take at this given point in time. The second suggestion that I have for you as my opening remarks is, today is a world full of choices, and therefore you need to be very, very judicious in deciding what you would like to study. Within any given area, there could be so many specializations. So the first suggestion is, please go online, do research on Google, use several such platforms such as Careers 360 and so many others who are giving you a wealth of information about careers available across India. One of the easiest ways to shortlist what you would like to do is first eliminate what you would not like to do. I know it sounds very simple, but actually it's a very, very effective way of deciding what you would like to pursue at your master's level. So at your master's level, since you have a lot of choices, First, do a complete research on what is it that interests you, and then shortlist what is it that you would like to study for your master's. In case you need the services of a career counselor, in case you wish to do an aptitude test, many of these are available online. Having said that, sometimes all decisions cannot be taken only online with the help of Google Uncle. You do need a career counselor, and you may reach out to someone in your area, in your institution, in your university, or reach out to us at any given point in time. We will try to help you to the extent possible. Clarify what you wish to do before you progress further, because one wrong step can put you behind by 1 good year. You end up studying a course which you are not interested in, are unable to score well, get frustrated, and then decide that you want to chuck that course. So the best advice to you is, please take a very conscious decision what you would like to study. Use the services of aptitude tests, career counselors, and then go ahead one step. On this note, having made two very critical points, pursue your master's after the bachelor's without taking a break. Choose carefully, choose scientifically. Don't be carried away by crowd mentality. Don't do things because someone else is doing it. And for God's sake, don't do something because it's in demand today, because I don't know how long it will continue to be in demand. So take a conscious decision at any given point in time. All of us are committed to help you build up your careers. You're welcome to reach us at any given point in time. That's why I will take a short comma, not a full stop, and I throw the session open to questions. Over to you, Robin. Robin, please unmute. Robin, please unmute.
Sorry.
That's it.
Sorry for that, glitch, sir. So we have a list of questions that the students have shared with us beforehand as well, and I'll also be throwing open some of the live queries they're sharing. The first query which we have is so it is from Abha Kumari, and she asks, I want to study MBA, but I have 3 years of gap after graduation, and I have no work experience either. Will it create any problems during placements?
Well, I would think if you do well in the 2 years of your MBA program, then the recruiter will be ready to forget your past. Let's remember, we can't keep digging into the past. We can't live on what we call postmortems. I'm sure you have your reasons as to why you have this three-year gap, why you did not work during these 3 years. Good possibility is you were trying to study very hard to crack the entrance exams. Having said all that, take admission into an institution of your choice. Go ahead and do your MBA with full enthusiasm. Prove everybody wrong by excelling in your MBA. And I'm sure no recruiter is going to worry about those 3 years. As they rightly say, you can't bury the past, so don't try to. See how you can do well in the present so that you can build up your future effectively.
So we'll move on to the next question, which is from Nimit Gupta. And he asks, what are the best career options after graduation in chemistry?
Wow, I'm happy to meet someone who is from the science area. Let me tell you honestly, all my young friends in this audience, becoming a scientist is one of the biggest careers which is often ignored in India. And it has huge demand in the West, and therefore we see a lot of brain drain. If someone is specializing in chemistry, if someone is specializing in physics, there are plenty of careers available to you. The first step for you is to ensure that you do your master's and then move on to do your PhD. The starting point for students like you is to write the GATE entrance exam, based on which you get admission into the IITs and the NITs, which are the famous institutions in India to do masters. All of you, please note, there is a wonderful set of institutions in India called IISER, Indian Institute of Science, Education and Research. They have locations across India, Pune, Mohali, in the Northeast, Bhopal, and so on. Please go online and get details. They have wonderful courses called Integrated MS and PhD. After you complete your specialization in chemistry, you could choose to go into areas like organic chemistry, analytical chemistry, nuclear chemistry. If you're working in the area of physics, you can get into atomic physics, and the list is endless. After which you can seek careers as a scientist. You can work for organizations like the Bhabha Atomic Research Center, the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, and become a scientist. It is such scientists who are actually driving the wheels of India and making us proud in the world map. So for you, careers after chemistry are plenty in the field of research, publication, teaching, and as I said, working in organizations like these where you could make a significant contribution to national development.
Right, sir. So we have another live query, and this is from Prasanna. And Prasanna asks, what are the best career options after doing hotel management?
Right. Let's just clarify one thing that within the broad domain of hotel management, there are predominantly two job options which come across in plenty. One is the broad domain of hotel management, which could include work in the areas of front office, banquets, housekeeping, and generally managing the hotel or the resort. The other area which is in the broad domain of hotel management is everything to do with the culinary part of it, which effectively means the cooking. Of course, to put it in a slightly glamorous way, handling all the food that is served in the restaurants, creating all those exotic menus, making them look so beautiful and nice, and so on and so on. So there are excellent careers for those who complete their bachelor's in hotel management. Many of us know that the Taj, the Oberoi, the ITC group have their own institutes of hotel management for many, many years. The place where I work with ITM has its own hotel management programs, and we have two types of programs, both with the local universities and also with international collaborations. These are available to you all over the country. Please choose a good institution closer to the place where you stay. Complete your bachelor's, but be sure decide which is the area you want to work in. In the current scenario, working in resorts, working in cruise ships is also an area of big demand where people who complete their course in hotel management can find good jobs.
Right. So the next query is from Bhavna. And Bhavna asked, is it necessary to pursue post-graduation after completing any degree course, such as BA, BCom, so that I can get a job after graduation also? Now, this is a kind of a move away from what you had recommended in the, but maybe if you could address this.
Sure. Positive. It's like this. I would recommend someone to start working after graduation if and only if there is a family situation that demands that you work immediately and contribute to the revenues of the family to sustain the family. Even if this is true, please take this as a decision which you could practice for about 2 years. Work for 2 years, raise some money for the family, create some savings for yourself, but go back and do your master's. Finding a job after bachelor's is not a problem, but having a good career growth in an organization without a master's will be difficult. 10 years down the line, all things being equal, your performance might be very good, but not having a master's qualification can put you on a back foot. Your promotion may be denied to you just for this one reason. So, based on all our experiences over the years, we feel a master's qualification is very, very critical for a good career foundation. So, if you are doing a BA, BCom, please choose something appropriate for yourself. MBA is an obvious choice. Having said that, Robin, I'd like to relate to one question which I got on email. A student wanted to know what they could do after they complete a BA in economics. Now, after you do a BA in economics, a good option could be to study further in the same domain. in areas such as econometrics. This is something which is very, very critical as far as the Indian economy goes. You could get into related careers like banking and insurance. So even after completing an arts degree in the field of economics, you have so many such options. Many students go on further to study at the London School of Economics, where they look at it as a stepping stone to a global career, be it with the International Monetary Fund or the World Bank, as the case might be. So jobs after graduation are possible, but a good career is guaranteed after you have a master's qualification in the area of your interest.
Thank you, sir. I'll take another live question. This is from Chandra. And Chandra, no, just give me a moment. This is from Shubhankar Jaiswal, sir. And he wants to know that after having completed his BTech in civil engineering, and he has 1 year WorkX, what are the options that he could pursue? 1 year BTech, 1 year experience after BTech civil engineering.
Well, the first question he has to answer for himself is it going to be a master's in civil engineering or related areas in engineering? Or he would like to move into the management stream and look at an MBA. So this is the first decision that he has to take for himself. Since he's got 1 year of work experience, if he starts the process right now of trying to get an admission into the master's program for the academic year 2021, he has enough time to prepare for whichever stream he decides. If it's going to be the technical stream, he has to write the GATE exam, which I mentioned to you about before. In case it's going to be the managerial stream, then he has to write the CAT exam, which is the management entrance test for the IIMs and other institutes, which are the B schools, which are affiliated to the CAT process. Could then move on into getting into some coaching, because both these exams are very competitive. Every mark counts, and therefore the effort to score maximum marks would be very, very critical. Today, India is seeing a lot of infrastructure boom, and I'm sure it's going to continue for time to come because we are consolidating our basic infrastructure. So careers in that direction are available in plenty. So do take a conscious decision on what is your area of interest.
So the next one is a very direct question, and some students are asking, what is the difference between a Pgdm and an MBA?
Okay, that's a nice question. These are synonymous courses. These are to me something similar to Coke and Pepsi. Well, I'm feeling very thirsty, so therefore I thought of Coke and Pepsi. Well, MBA, MMS, Pgdm, Pgdba are all namesakes for this one course called Masters in Management. Normally speaking, many universities offer the title called MBA. If an autonomous institution comes under UGC purview and is recognized by AICTE, then very often they are asked to use the title Pgdba or Pgdbm, as the case might be. In Mumbai University, to give you a very specific example, the master's level program is called MMS, Masters in Management Studies. So all that you as a student have to check out is the MBA that you're doing, call it by any name. It's a 2-year full-time program. Second, it is recognized by either the central university, as could be UGC, state university, could be Mumbai University, could be Bangalore University, or does it come under the domain of AICTE? As long as your 2-year master's program is recognized by one of these 3 entities, you are doing a program which is legal, authorized, and holds value in the academic fraternity. Robin, next one.
Yes, sir. So there are quite a few queries about students wanting to pursue UPSC. There are engineers who would like to give a shot at UPSC. There are others who've taken a break after graduation of 2 to 3 years. And there are some other questions about what are the kind of career options in the government sector. So maybe if you can address all of them because
Sure.
they're related.
Absolutely, absolutely. Government service is something which is very, very fascinating for two reasons. You not only build a career for yourself, but you are actually directly contributing to nation building. The starting point of careers in the government service is an exam which is conducted by UPSC, Union Public Service Commission. As I speak, there might be various such names of institutions, universities, which I will be sharing with you. Please make a specific note of these, as these, once you Google, will open up a complete window of answers to all your specific queries. So the UPSC entrance exam, Union Public Service Commission. This is a starting point if you want to build up a career in the government service. The minimum eligibility for someone who wants to get into UPSC is you should have completed your graduation. Many of us who come to us for career guidance and career counseling, which is it's a big passion area for me, we advise them early in life that if you would like to go to UPSC, taking the humanities stream is a very good idea. The reason for this is the UPSC entrance exam has three components. The prelim exam, if you clear the prelim exam, you go for the final exam. And if you clear the final exam, you go for a panel interview. Each of these, unfortunately, but then I don't want to scare you, at the same time, you're old enough to know the truth. Each level becomes tougher as you go higher. So the prelims are tough, the finals are tougher, and the interview is toughest. But if you have a background in humanities, then many of the papers that you need to do in the prelims are papers related to humanities. Therefore, if you have planned early to do your civil services and already got onto this route of humanities, you already had a great starting point. But nothing to worry. Even if you are an engineer, you are a science student, you've done biology, and you still feel that you would like to get into UPSC, all you need to do is to connect with the UPSC website, fill up the forms, and start preparing for these entrance examinations. In all these entrance examinations, which I said in prelim and final, there are one or two subjects which you can choose based on your earlier area of study. Some subjects are decided by them. It's a fixed syllabus, but some subjects you have a choice. And therefore, depending on your graduation, you can choose some of the subjects. I would recommend to all of you here, if you're serious about UPSC, it's good to join a coaching class only because they teach you tips and tricks as to how to tackle these questions, how to get enough practice so that you're able to complete answering more and more questions accurately in the shorter period of time. Similarly, the coaching classes prepare you for this very, very challenging panel interview. A panel interview essentially consists of about 5 to 6 people who are interviewing you, the single candidate. And at times it can be very, very stressful. So a combination of these three exam related preparation could be possible for you at your coaching classes. In case you are fully concentrating on your preparation for civil services and you're not working at all after graduation, I would recommend that you enroll at least for a master's in arts or a master's in commerce. The reason is the general preparation and start to finish for clearing the civil service exams is a period of anywhere between 1 to 2 years. So in these 1 to 2 years, if you enroll with the local university and have an opportunity to do your course in arts or commerce, then you would have perhaps acquired one more qualification in the process. And God forbid, after 1 or 2 attempts at the civil services, for whatever reasons you're not able to crack it, you at least have a qualification up your sleeve. And that can be very, very useful to you when you apply for jobs otherwise. So that's where I would believe that for you, preparation for the UPSC should be a long-term strategy. You have to ensure that you devote enough time and energy to the whole process.
Right. So I'll move on to another query, and this is from Ruchika. She has asked this to us on FB. She wants to know what are the short-term or online courses students can take up to enhance their skills. This is particularly relevant nowadays. With the lockdown having been extended, it was just announced 10 minutes,
Yes.
exactly half an hour ago by the Prime Minister. So maybe if you could shed some light of how can students enhance skills through online education.
All right, two things. One is it's a very good idea to use your time constructively. And a quick mention is even world universities like Harvard, Oxford have thrown open so many of their courses free for students during the lockdown. Even the IITs have done this in the current scenario. Besides web portals like Udemy and other such learning portals which are available, all of them are giving you some free courses in this lockdown period. Having said that, you can't just do a course because it's free. Please decide what is your area of interest first. And therefore, based on that area of interest, you could think of doing some course. Let's say for a minute that you want to develop your career over a period of time in business analytics, or you want to get into data sciences, and you are a graduate and you're hoping to do your MBA in IT and analytics over a period of time. Then you could look at short-term courses available in this broad domain. Maybe a 6 weeks course on Python, or a short-term course on Tableau, something like that, which is in your broad area of interest, is one that you can look at. Similarly, if your interest is in commerce field, you can look at some applications, very simple ones like say Tally. If your area of interest is, let's say, human resource development, maybe you should look up some courses related to motivation, leadership, team building. But since this was a very valid question, I'd like to recommend to all of you, please see if you can get some online courses in areas such as public speaking, confidence building, coping with stress, personality development, because these are very, very useful to you, notwithstanding what career you choose for yourself. Because ultimately, let's remember, it's not only what you know that shapes up your career, but how you present yourself, how you come across as a confident individual, that will make a difference to your career. So please look at some of these online courses. Many of them are available to you, and I'm sure that you can make best advantage of these in this current lockdown period.
Right, Professor. I see a lot of queries on MBA, specifically about what MBA specialization to choose, uh, and whether marketing is a good specialization or is finance a good specialization, and whether somebody should go for an MBA at all or not. And these are students from various backgrounds. So maybe I mean if you could take all of these together and
Sure, positive, positive.
right.
Worth asking this question for everybody again is, should I do an MBA? The answer is yes, provided you're interested in doing an MBA. Please don't do an MBA because everybody else in your neighborhood is doing an MBA. Please don't do an MBA because, a couple of my friends, we've been together from KG and we've sworn to be together till PG, so we'll do every course together. No. We don't want people to do an MBA just because it's the flavor of the season. And trust me, MBA is perhaps no more the flavor of the season. Because the number of people who are doing MBA today without knowing why they're doing MBA is on the rise. So my first suggestion is, please do a soul searching. I'm sure you read some of these posts now that there's a lockdown. If you can't go outside, go inside, which means introspect. Please answer this question for yourself. Do I wish to do an MBA? And if the answer is a big yes, wonderful. Please move on to do an MBA. I must share this with you as a basic piece of information that MBA is that course which continues to be in the greatest demand even today. But very often, as I said, students have MBA as a dream, but they don't know why? If you have answered this question for yourself, moving on to what Robin was just suggesting, the specializations in MBA have also increased over a period of time. In good old days, we had only marketing and finance as two specializations. And then we had human resources as the third specialization. Human resources was the specialization that I studied when I did my MBA from the Tata Institute of Social Sciences. Over a period of time, the number of specializations have increased, whether it be the IIMs, whether it be private universities, whether it be the several B schools in the country. All of us have multiple specializations in offer. But two specializations have always been in greatest demand. The first is marketing and the second is finance. What does an MBA in marketing entail? In the whole domain of marketing, what we are actually trying to do is we are trying to reach across to a customer, trying to educate him about a product, trying to woo him to buy that product, promising him wonderful sales service if he buys the product, creating him a desire to buy your brand over some other brand, and of course, promise him the sun and the moon in terms of rewards if he is a loyal customer to your organization. So the entire aspect of trying to woo a customer, bring in a customer, and retain a customer is what we would be discussing in marketing. Having got the customer, having got the revenues into the organization, how does one plan the use of these revenues in the organization? The company has to ensure that the financial health of the company needs to be very, very strong. And the financial health of the company will depend largely on the ability to use the funds meaningfully, minimize the loans that a company takes from outside, ensure that all the various facilities promised to the employees of the company are paid on time, take care of the taxation aspects in terms of keeping all the statutory demands of the government and so on. All this is a domain which comes under finance. As all of us realize, marketing and finance are the two very, very solid arms based on which a company's success can be determined. In order to have a strong marketing and finance department, you need to have support functions. These support functions include the human resource function, where you have a team of people who not only recruit employees, young managers like you, train them, induct them, groom them, ensure rewards are given to them, keep them happy and contributing to the organization. Today's organizations survive on an IT infrastructure. It's so very, very connected. It's not like good old days where we needed the physical contact to have networks across the organization. Thanks to the wonderful, robust infrastructure in IT that many companies have invested in, thanks to the power of the World Wide Web, connectivity is something which is assumed and available in all organizations. So as I was sharing with you, 4 specializations which are in great demand: marketing, finance, human resources, IT. These have been there for a very long time, and I visualize these being the backbone of any organization will continue to be there. In the current scenario, in the last 10 years, we've seen that within these broad specializations, many B schools and many institutions are offering sub-specializations. For example, somebody who is offering marketing, the same institute might offer you a postgraduate program only in advertising and mass communication. Another institute might be offering you specialized courses in financial markets or technical analysis and derivatives when the applications are very, very specific to the financial services domain. Some institutions have now started offering courses related to analytics and data sciences. There are other institutions which have an MBA in supply chain management and logistics. These again are very, very critical to the success of any organization. The latest in the specializations arena is digital marketing. As all of us know, the world is becoming increasingly digital. till we experienced the lockdown and COVID, I think we had kind of already got used to shopping from home, dining from home, getting entertained from home. It's only this working from home which all of us have been enforced to more because of the lockdown. So digital marketing is another area which is in huge demand. Lots of students wish to do these courses. So I've given you a list of about 8 specializations which we find across. Identify those institutions which offer the specialization of your choice. Find out which is that entrance examination that you need to write to get into those institutions. Many institutions have their own entrance exam. For example, I told you about CAT, which is mandatory for entrance into IIMs. I also mentioned to you in passing, let's say an institution like SP Jain might have its own entrance exam. Symbiosis has its own entrance exam. In a situation like ours, in my institution, ITM, we have a set of tests which are national tests, the scores of which we accept. So we don't ask you to write another entrance examination. So please find out which institute you wish to apply to, what is the procedure that they are following. Most of the institutes insist on a good test score. The good news is you are rarely rejected on your test score. You're usually called for a group discussion, you're called for a personal interview. In some institutions, they have a PowerPoint presentation as part of the selection process. This is where, if you remember, I said, use the time to develop your public speaking skills, groom up your personality, because it is this confidence during the interview which can make or break the possibility of getting a seat in an institution of your choice. Very often, 50% of the institutes, I would believe, have a syllabus for the first year which is common. So even if you're unable to decide 100% whether you want to do marketing or HR, at least for the sake of the interview, say that you want to do one of these. Don't go and say in the interview, I'm confused. It might go against you. Say that I want to do either of these, if at all you feel the panel is amenable. Otherwise, at least tell them that as of now, I wish to join for marketing. Those institutions which have a first year common syllabus allow you to change your specialization before the end of the first year if you so decide you wish to change. However, in the current trend that I have seen in the last couple of years, many institutions start the specialization courses from term 2, which means approximately 3 to 4 months after the course has begun, they have put you into the specialization batch, in which case you don't have the luxury of thinking for a year. You got to decide within 3 to 4 months what your intended area of specialization is. Here is where I reiterate, if you have some difficulties in deciding, please go in for an aptitude test. Many of them are available online. If required, meet a career counselor. Sometimes a counselor can bring in the clarity to your thinking process, which very often something online may not be able to do. So that's the broad stream of what could be different MBA specializations. One or two words of advice for you. I know all of us have our favorite institutions. All of us believe that we are the best. And all of us believe that, IIM A, B, C, D, L is just waiting for us. And at the end of the day, when you don't get a seat there, you say, no way, I'm going to try again next year. Fine, if you're confident, do that. But very often it happens that the second year also, you don't succeed. And please remember, considering India's literacy and the population, every year perhaps another lakh of students are applying more than they did the previous year. The competition is intensified. The probabilities of selection are perhaps going down. Therefore, with all due respect to the best institutions in the country, I believe don't wait for a seat in that cherished institution. Take a seat in a good institution which passes all the quality checks which I told you earlier in this discussion. Join that institution and do your best. If you join an institution, let us say, which is a B school, and if you come out with a superlative A+ performance, I think you'll still get the best job that you are aspiring for. I know the ultimate dream of every MBA is to get the best job in a FMCG company or in a digital marketing giant or any company in the current domain of, say, entertainment and so on. But please remember, just getting a seat into an IIM is not the end of the journey. There too, you have to prove yourself if you have to get a good job of your choice. Please concentrate on adding value to yourself in the 2 years of your MBA program. Getting the MBA seat is just the start of the journey. The journey will culminate with your outstanding performance. The journey will culminate when you have done a wonderful internship and a good project in an organization and are able to get good grades and join a company of your choice. Another word of caution, if someone told you grades are not important, I beg to differ. Most of the organizations, which are the top-notch organizations, shortlist based on your academic scores. I'm also not saying that we want you to become bookworms, but do concentrate on academics. Focus on co-curriculars and extracurriculars. Ensure that you're adding value to yourself, because it is what you do with yourself in these 2 years is going to decide what kind of a career you're going to build for yourself over the next 20 years. So that's what are my thoughts and feelings on this broad area called MBA and what are the career options. Robin, is there anything more specific you would like me to address?
So, Mani, I'll take over. Robin, just.
Oh, hi. Good morning. Nice to meet
sir.
you.
How are you?
All well. Please go ahead.
Yeah, right, sir. So I just joined and I actually had a different call. So
Okay.
one of the questions that keeps coming back to us as far as MBA, choosing MBA is concerned, is that like internationally, you actually do MSc in management if you don't have WorkX. And unless you have a WorkX, MBA, the learning in MBA might not be as much as they should be, right? So how do you advise the Indian students? Because in India, right after graduation, people jump onto MBA and they start doing MBA. What is your advice to a student who's just finished bachelor's, has a job in hand, and has a aspiration to also be an MBA? Should he join in now or should he join in later?
Okay. See, you correctly pointed out that the situation in the West is completely different. And in India, it's totally a different ballgame. I believe most of the MBA courses as they are designed in India are so designed to have fresh students coming in. WorkX is not mandatory for those students who are joining a typical Indian MBA program, because the syllabus covers a certain number of academically related courses, project related work, internships, guest faculty, industry seminars, etc. So there's a lot built in to provide the industry interface to fresh students also. So I broadly believe in the Indian context, if a student comes in fresh also into a B school, which is the majority population in India, he does not really come in at any disadvantage. But you have a point. Most of the IIMs, most of the top-notch institutions, including the Indian School of Business, Hyderabad, insist on a prior work experience. Insist so much that, of course, if you have work experience, the probability of selection automatically increases. But if I look at the majority of institutions today in the country, then lack of experience, I don't think goes against you. You have to just put in that extra bit of hard work to compete with those who might come with some work experience before they came for their MBA. Just one word of caution for students. If you choose to work and then do your MBA, my recommendation is at least work for 2 years. Because if you're working for just 1 year, it's actually never going to be 1 year. It's almost 9 months, 10 months, 8 months. You actually haven't completed a year. And in those 8 to 10 months, most of the times you're just getting inducted, you're on training, you're made to do very routine clerical work, you actually haven't learned anything. And then you take a break and you say, I have 1 year's work experience. Really, that's not 1 year. And then when you go for the campus interviews, you say 1 year's work experience. Again, it doesn't go in your favor. So if you choose to work, my general word of advice is work for 2 years. At least you have acquired some meaningful experience in those 2 years, which will look good in your biodata, in your CV. And that could go as an advantage for you when you apply for admission after 2 years. I also have a personal view on this. I always say young people, best to do a full-time MBA. Please don't get into a part-time MBA. Part-time MBA, I strongly believe, is for those who are 30 plus, who could not do their MBA because of circumstances in the family, as I explained to you before, who perhaps didn't realize the value of the MBA done, or could not afford it at that point in time, and so many other reasons. So if you're 30 plus, maybe part-time, maybe executive MBA. But if you're a young guy who I think is attending this session, typically a profile of somewhere like 20 to 22 years old, then the best prescription for you is a full-time MBA. Yes, please.
Just an extension of that. A lot of people say that the curriculum in BBA and MBA is almost similar.
Correct.
So if you've done your BBA, it's far better that you do something else possibly than an MBA. Or do you suggest that even after BBA, because the student has an aspiration to be doing a master's qualification, so how do you advise students who've done BBA in their undergrad of what the path should be?
Sure. Again, you have a very valid observation. Many universities are guilty of not upgrading their syllabuses regularly. And therefore, the BBA programs, or in Mumbai, we have a program in Mumbai University called BMS, Bachelor of Management Studies, which is the namesake of BBA again.
That's right.
These syllabi are so well designed because they've been designed in the last 15 to 20 years, and they almost cover about 50 to 60% of the coverage of the MBA program. So point is valid. However, I feel if you've done your BBA, find a good institution whose syllabus is up to date. Choose to do specializations which you could have not studied during BBA. Let's say you did BBA and you're well versed with marketing. Why not do an MBA with digital marketing? Very often my worry is when the continuity is broken, very often the student loses interest. If a student starts working and has 2 credit cards in his pocket, it's highly distracting. For nothing in the world do you want to give up that job, however difficult it is and however moderately paid you are. That financial independence overrules every other decision. Therefore, I feel unless family circumstances demand, complete your MBA without the break. If you have done your BBA or BMS, even more reason that you're well versed with management already, you should be doing so well in your entrance test that you get into the top-notch schools. And I would believe the top 10% of MBA schools in India almost have a dynamically changing syllabus every year. Now, it is these institutions that one should aspire for. It's also true that the middle of the rung, let's say 60% of the institutes have perhaps revised their syllabus about 10 years ago, which is very sad. Therefore, set your targets in the right direction. Use the BBA and BMS to your advantage. This is my recommendation.
Another question again. We all know that typically a class of MBA has more engineers sitting in the classroom, right? And we also now know that because the institutions are working for diversity and increasing the diversity of the cohort so that there's greater learning, that a liberal arts student and an art student also is a preferred way of improving the diversity. But the way the examination, the entrance examinations are structured, they inhibit or intimidate students of arts from even thinking of MBA as an option. So what is your advice to all these non-engineering students or non-PCM students to decide MBA as a career option for themselves?
Very valid question again. The entrance exams are so quantitative in nature that It would scare a typical art student who's perhaps not done maths in 11th and 12th onwards. But I think here is where the role of many organizations like your own, Careers 360, and various other service providers who prepare students for these entrance examinations. Trust me, and I can vouch for this. Just for information, both my children are arts in their background, humanities.
Yeah.
And my daughter did her MBA in Human Resource Management after cracking an entrance test. I think cracking the entrance test is a matter of sheer practice and hard work. And I repeat, if you have a good support from organizations like 360 or any others, it doesn't become so difficult. If you invest in the hard work in the beginning, it will certainly give you rich dividends over a period of time. And I have another side of the story, and I want the art students to listen very carefully. Trust me, your background in psychology, your background in economics, your background in sociology is of immense value during the MBA program. Irrespective of whether you do marketing, finance, HR, IT, it is these basic soft skills which are going to determine your success or failure in the organization. Many institutions, and I'm tempted to name my own, is in ITM, we spend nearly about 300 to 400 hours of training beyond the curriculum only on humanities and soft skill training. Because we strongly believe, and this is a truth of today's environment, whether you're talking about technology, whether you're talking about artificial intelligence, whether you're talking about all the high-tech machinery that has come into the world, including CNC and 4D printing and what you may. The difference between success and failure of an organization is the relationships that people have in the organization. Sound relationships ensure great performance. And therefore, soft skills, humanities, and the background that you come from the art stream will go heavily in your favor. So don't worry about it. In fact, if it's only the test scores, it can be handled with sufficient amount of practice. And I think sometimes I feel many of the engineers we meet, they are bright technically, but they are not able to present themselves effectively. So they need a different kind of training to crack the entrance exams and the seat in the MBA schools. So don't worry at all. And if I might add to the last, what should I say, motivator to this, my background is in psychology and human resources. I'm not a student of science nor of engineering. I don't think I've ever regretted.
Again, another question that's coming from quite a few of our audiences, sir. And this is related to the soft skills that you talked of, right? There is this feeling again, and maybe an intimidation also for people who coming from language background,
Yes.
and believing that MBA is not meant for them because they can't present themselves well, they can't make a PowerPoint presentation, they can't speak English well, and so on and so forth. Whereas most of the brilliance that is coming from the language schools that we have, the language people who study in their own languages, they somehow India is not able to absorb them and make them a part of this management revolution, so to say. What do you have to say to these people who are studying in languages but still you think MBA is relevant or not so relevant for them?
Yeah, you're right. I think the biggest impediment for people who come from rural India is the ability to speak English confidently. And perhaps we need to have some interventions right at the junior college level for these people. We do make our effort in whatever forums that we are present in, that English is the language of business. So notwithstanding whether I'm from Tamil Nadu or from Uttar Pradesh or from Bengal or anywhere, English is the language of business, and therefore communicating in English, basics of writing, reading, and speaking, these have to be inculcated early in the student. This is a broad requirement as far as rural India goes. But having said that, I think many B schools are doing this. And for the student, they have extra coaching in English, giving them extra lessons in English public speaking, confidence building. I think this is just a very, very small challenge. In my own experience, a lot of people who come in from rural backgrounds are extremely bright. They come with a great degree of understanding. Their ability to interpret data is very, very good. But the ability to express themselves, I think, is a difficulty. Many B schools are doing it. I don't want to keep talking about ourselves, but I think I would urge all B schools that let us pay a little attention to these people also, because it's like a chain reaction. A typical student who studied in Mumbai all his life, I think wants to go to New York or London. And a student who studied all his life, let us say in a Nasik or a Tanjavur, wants to come down to a Chennai or to Mumbai. It's aspirational. So the more we have students coming in from these backgrounds, our job is not restricted to only attracting them, but I think it's our moral responsibility to groom them in such a manner that they are also able to find a good job when it comes to the campus recruitment process. So don't worry if you are going to apply for management from the non-metro cities and towns of India. I think perhaps once again the answer here is seek coaching. Why I'm repeating this is when we were students, and I'm talking about something like about 35, 36 years back, it's obvious, I think I'm coming from a Jurassic era for many of you who are not even born when I was in school. Going for tuitions and coaching was seen as a sign of a weak student. Trust me, we used to hide the fact that we go for Marathi tuitions. Because to put it in Hindi, इज्जत का सवाल है. तू ट्यूशन के लिए जाता है. It used to be so bad. No more is the case today. Coaching classes are here with a role to play. They are coaching you. They are preparing you to crack the entrance exam. Their job is not to teach you the MBA syllabus. Their job is to facilitate your entry into an MBA school. So similarly, don't run away from coaching. If you need extra coaching, take it. Ensure that you're better prepared, because unless you're prepared, you're not going to be able to crack the entrance exam. We say this in lighter vein. No one prepares to fail, right? We all prepare to succeed. No one prepares to fail. But then why do we fail to prepare? Why don't we invest that extra hard work in preparation? Why do we believe that some magic will happen in the exam hall and I'll get all the marks for it? Or why do you think that you can have a earphone and someone like Munna Bhai will give you all the answers? It doesn't work in real life. You got to work hard and you got to make a difference. So that's my stake.
We're still running. I think there are a lot of questions, so I'll keep asking if you don't mind, sir.
No, I don't mind. I just have one question which was sent to me yesterday, which I thought I must devote some time. Is
Yes,
people are seeking to know mainly about careers related to ISRO, etc. I think with all Mission Mars and all the nice movies which are coming around, this is a nice area that people find glamorous. But having said that, I think it is worthwhile to share with you. We are very happy that people want to go the science route, because this is an often neglected area in India. If I rattle off, and please listen to me very carefully, institutions like ISRO, Bhabha Atomic Research Center, BARC, TIFR, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, Indian Institute of Space Technology, Trivandrum, IISER, which I told you has several locations in India. All these institutions of eminence are in India. And these have been serving not only India, they have been serving the world over the last 25, 30 years. But yet there are times they do not get enough applications. So may I suggest to all of you who are inclined on the science route, taking science doesn't mean you have to become a doctor or an engineer. Those are the obvious careers. Today, a lot of people who do science are moving on to architecture, because today with all the infrastructure boom in India, a lot of people see architecture as a good profession, no doubt. But I would rate architecture as one of the toughest professions. Not that I want to discourage you. Besides engineering, medicine, and architecture, please keep in mind pure sciences, scientific research could be a wonderful area to get into. Please look up some of these institutions which I mentioned. All of them have courses which are MS, MSc, PhD. If you have your siblings, you are in the 12th standard. There are even courses called BSc, MSc integrated, BSMS integrated. And these are wonderful institutions to go to, not only to specialize in this field like science and space research, but significantly contribute to nation building. Back to you, Mahesh.
Yeah. So again, a couple of questions. One, I'll just answer myself because it's a simple thing. Shraddha Kulkarni asks, should I do my MBA after complete my bachelor's, or is it better to do it after post-graduation? I think, Shraddha, the answer is you must do MBA. Don't waste 2 years of doing post-graduation and doing MBA. So I'm responding to that so that we can go on to some. So Ranit is asking a question. What are the opportunities in operations management?
Okay, broadly speaking, operations management, supply chain management, logistics management, these are logical choices where engineering students move on to. When we are looking at operations management, we're looking at how a factory, a manufacturing unit can, by using principles of management, optimize its existing resources. You heard of Japanese terms like, say, Kaizen. We're talking of 5S. All these come under a broad domain of how we can make the manufacturing processes more effective, more efficient. How can the operations be done in such a manner that the company becomes more productive? So generally speaking, if one wants to get into these domains, I would recommend these for the engineering students, because you start with a huge advantage that a lot of technical processes that are involved here are already known to you. That need not deter the other students. This was just, as they said, it's your preferred option in case you come from that background. A lot of people feel that jobs in operations, supply chain, HR, IT are in less demand. Actually, it's not the question of being in less demand. They are in equal demand. But the number of positions in any company are obviously lesser. Don't you think if I need a marketing force, if I need 40 people in my marketing team, I don't need 40 people in my HR team. I don't need 40 people in my operations team. So the number of people required is lesser. It's not that the demand is lesser. And here is where I want to reiterate again. Getting an MBA degree, passing an MBA is not a big challenge in today's world. It's doing well in the MBA, getting a good score, having a good internship, having done good projects in those 2 years. Repeat, having added value to yourself, which is going to make a difference to your career. Yes, please.
Yeah. So there's another question from Prem Amrut sir, and it's a very interesting question because we're talking of changing our path in a sense. Because this Prem Amrut is actually a graduate in hotel management, but he's interested in finance.
Okay.
And wants to do an MBA in finance.
All right.
So, and it is relevant for many people. So if you can expand this a bit more.
Surely. In fact, I'll go one step back and say that, traditionally speaking, when we first saw engineers coming into management, we got the first shocks because we used to always believe that humanities and commerce people come into management. And the first set of responses we used to get from engineers, and particularly a lot of engineers wanted to do MBA finance. They said, we have very good training in analytical skills in engineering, and therefore we'll do very well in finance also because there are a lot of analytical skills. Trust me, all these are stereotypes. And I don't think today's world really bothers about stereotypes. We are interested in knowing what is of interest to you. We are interested in knowing whether you're able to work hard to prove and demonstrate your interest while doing your MBA. Let's take this specific case. You've done a hotel management program, wonderful. You want to do MBA finance, as long as you're convinced you want to do it. Logically, I would believe that you would like to do corporate finance, which means you would like to work in a company after you do your MBA finance in the finance department of the organization. Very, very simple. Complete your MBA finance, and why don't you try to work in the hotel or hospitality industry, because you already know that industry so well, as compared to a person working in the finance department who doesn't understand anything about, say, pricing of food items, which you know because you've been in the hotel industry. I think you come in with a huge advantage. So first suggestion to you is, please stop feeling guilty. Be damn sure that you want to do MBA in finance, and then there's no looking behind. And as I said, if you do well in your MBA finance, I can assure you every top-notch hotel in the country will want to hire you because you are from their domain. As they would say, "Tu apni parivar ka aadmi hai, hotel wala hai, come we will hire you." So convert your so-called perceived disadvantage into an advantage.
Sir, quite a few questions on this, and I'll just try to broad base them so that many questions are answered. How do you shortlist a B school? And especially because a lot of people also say that the location of the B school plays an important role of whether it will actually place the students or not. So, in terms of your priority, what is the 1, 2, 3 things that students must look for to say this is my B school?
Well, the first thing that I would recommend to the students to decide while they decide a B school is to look at the stability of the B school. I think this is very, very important. My definition of stability is, has it been around for at least about 15, 20 years? And I think this is very, very important because if an institution has to grow and become world class, it needs time. It's very difficult to have an Indian school of business kind of an organization which is world class from, say, year two. But then that's only an exception to that rule. No offense to the IIMs, but I think all of us agree that even today, the respect that the original IIMs have, the same respect is not given to the other IIMs. They have yet to reach that stage. So stability in terms of meaningful existence. So this is very, very important. The second thing I would look at is try to look at the quality of faculty and alumni. And I think in today's networked world, full of Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and if you're not yet on it, LinkedIn, please develop these networks to do a little bit of complete research for yourself. What kind of faculty are available to me? What is their background? How long have they been teaching? What is their specialization? Where are the alumni placed? Connect with the alumni. Last but not the least, before you choose a business school, to the extent possible, I know sometimes there could be geographical barriers. Please visit the business school and try to see the place, interact with the faculty, interact with the students. I know sometimes you get very colored responses from existing students, but doesn't matter. I think all of us are old enough to distinguish between what is bluff and what is actual. And also let's remember, if only infrastructure made a good institute, then all five-star hotels would be great institutes. It's not only infrastructure. Sometimes students get carried away by what we call the halo effect. Where is it? Is it located in this place? What kind of quality is there in terms of infrastructure? I agree with you. These are hygiene factors. These are important. But for me, quality of teaching, the quality of the institution in terms of the efforts that it makes to develop you and your personality, and of course, the kind of alumni that it has produced will certainly be my key pointers to deciding a good B school. Last but not the least, please don't get into endless discussion on this on forums, and particularly public forums. I sometimes feel it reaches a situation that you do so much of analysis that it leads to paralysis. So to say, you research so much that you don't know whom to believe and whom not to believe. So a fair amount of research, a little bit of interaction with all the stakeholders, and that's your decision. Take it and go ahead and do your best. Ultimately, please remember, even within a domain of, let us say, Mumbai University, we have something like 80 MBA schools or MMS schools. Irrespective of where you study, depending on where you get the seat, notwithstanding the pedigree of that institution of very high quality or average quality, the MMS degree that you get comes from Mumbai University. So what is more important is, what have you done to add value to yourself in the 2 years that you're doing your management? Sorry, I'm repeating myself on this, but this is something I feel very strongly about that can really distinguish between success and failure of an MBA aspirant.
So just to repeat what Professor Mani said for most of you, it is a legacy of the institution, alumni, faculty, and if you can, please visit the B School and talk to them. So there's another question again, quite a few have asked this question, so I'm again trying to broad base this for many people. Would you, you actually have flagship programs of B schools, and then you actually, these B schools have also created multiple, specializations, so to say. Like if you just take Symbiosis, you have SIBM and you have about 12, 13, 14 B schools across that. Now, so one is the flagship program versus the non-flagship programs, and two is a generic MBA versus specialized MBA. So given an option, should a student choose a specialization though it's not a flagship program?
Okay, I'll take the same example. For example, if you're an engineer and you've done telecom engineering and you want to do telecom management, and that's available as a flagship, as a niche program somewhere, go ahead, as long as you're sure that that was your area of interest. Otherwise, I will go on the legacy factor, which I told you, and go with the flagship program. This is provided I have a choice. Therefore, I would try to apply maybe once, maximum a second time. But as I said before, I'm not going to keep waiting to get into the flagship program of my choice. Because every year I wait, as I said, the competition increases, and suddenly your juniors become your classmates. And if you keep on waiting, your juniors might become your seniors. So please don't get into this waiting game that I want to get into that preferred institution of my choice. Secondly, if you are getting an MBA seat in a generic program, let's say you got a seat in marketing, and you're also getting a seat in digital marketing, which was just introduced recently in that institution, please decide for yourself what is your preferred area. Because let's remember, if you do marketing, your options are plenty. You can still get a job in a digital marketing company. But if you did digital marketing, then maybe the chances that you're hired by a core selling and marketing organization which believes in sales may be reduced. Specializations which have been introduced recently have been introduced to cope up with the changes that the environment is demanding, is because the industry wants niche programs. But that also doesn't mean that the niche program is one which is superior to the other programs. All institutions spend enough time, money, energy, resources in developing these programs. So try your best to ensure that you choose one which is of greater interest to you. That will be an ideal way of deciding.
Last two questions, sir.
Okay.
My submission to all the students here is that we'll be, I think, having heard Professor Mani, will keep seeking him out on many things. This time we'll try to go for specializations because you can have much more deeper conversation on these things. I will end this with two more questions and then I'll call Professor Mani because I think this will be very, very valuable for each of you. The first question is, sir, if you do BSc Physics, can you do Masters in Data Sciences?
Yes, you can. The answer is simply yes. There are MSc level courses in data sciences which are available to you. If you want to try it in the IITs, then you'll have to write the GATE entrance exam. There are many private universities which are offering this to you. Please Google, you will find them. If you don't, please reach back to us. We can give you the names of these institutions, but I don't want to get onto individual institutions in a public forum like this. But it is possible. It's a great area to be in. Please pursue your interest in that direction.
So Sanat Kumar, you got the answer that after BSc Physics, you actually can do MSc Data Sciences, and there are very good institutions that you can get. Right. The second part of it is, sir, on masters itself, the affordability and the scholarships and so on and so forth. So in your experience, and I don't mind you naming it if you can, what are very good institutions where the fee also is quite affordable and they're decent prospects, so to say?
Okay, I must mention this one thing to you, that many of the institutions today, especially the better known business schools, do offer scholarships to deserving students. And this is broadly based on need come merit. So if you're a good student and for some reason you can't afford the fees, you want scholarships, the institution itself provides scholarships. Scholarships in simple words means your fees are discounted by 10%, 20%, 25%, or in exceptional cases, higher percentages. This is something you will have to discuss back with the respective institutions. So if you look at all the biggest B schools from the times they have started as B schools, call it Symbiosis, NMIMS, SPJN, ITM, so many of us, we all believe in scholarships for students who are good, and we are ready to subsidize the fees based on need. That is one. Second, many of these institutions, including us, have scholarship examinations purely based on merit. If you excel in the entrance test, you will get a scholarship irrespective of what your financial status is. So not a point of concern at all. Third, most of these institutions have tie-up with financial institutions and banks where the loan procedure is largely simplified. And many of these banks ask you to start paying your EMIs 2 years after you get your first job, which means you're almost paying your loan 4 years after you got the loan. So these are options MBA schools are providing to the student community that they can afford the management education that they cherish. Last but not the least, all university programs are highly subsidized. Whichever university you are in, the programs which are run by the university, say Anna University or Allahabad University or Mumbai University, all these programs are highly subsidized as compared to those done by the private B schools. The only reason B schools end up charging higher is they don't get any aid, grant, support from the government. The B schools mostly run only on student fees. And therefore, what you are doing is not only investing in your career, but investing in the career of so many other people by joining such institutions. So trust me, affordability is not an issue. I know I'm on a public forum, but if affordability is ever an issue, we in ITM are ready to support any deserving student.
Brilliant. Kaushik, I think you got your answer. Sir, one last question, because this man has been spamming me and I normally don't allow spamming, but
No
he's asked
problem.
many questions.
I'm fine. Go ahead.
There is a question from Shiv Palwade. He says, what after MBBS and surgery? So he wants to study after MBBS. What is a normal path that you would suggest for a student who's done his MBBS?
Well, after MBBS in today's competitive medical world, doing an MD is critical. You've got to do your specialization. So you may choose cardiology, you may choose physiotherapy, you may choose anything that's of interest to you. This is one, if you are very clear that you want to be in the medical practice area. The other large demand career for medical professionals or doctors today is hospital management. I think all of us know that the number of private hospitals in the country are so much on the rise. And therefore, we need qualified hospital management professionals. So there are courses available, to name a few, right at the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, which is the founder of this course, called Masters in Hospital Management, Diploma in Hospital Management, 2-year diploma, where doctors are trained to become medical administrators. Because when you are going to manage a 400-bedded hospital, it's almost like running a corporate organization. It's not only medical skills that are going to help you. So either which way, please don't stop at being a MBBS doctor unless you have a compulsive reason to start your practice immediately. Do on an MD in an area of your choice, or move on to doing your hospital administration or hospital management MBA kind of program and move in that arena of managing and running large hospitals. You know, I have one question which I had just flagged off because it's a question which I've asked very often. A lot of kids want to get into careers in banking, insurance, financial services. Great. I mean, there are lots of career options available. Traditionally, what used to happen is if you wanted to get into a bank, you would do a BCom and then you would write what is called the banking exams. Okay. Even today, if you look at the IBPS, Institute of Bank Personnel Selection, and so on, there are a lot of such entrance examinations through which you can get jobs in public sector banks. Private sector banks, normally what they have been doing is they prefer to select MBAs from various B schools and they put them on to different jobs in banking. Notwithstanding you're an MBA, please be prepared. You might have to work as a cashier for 6 months. You might have to do data entry for 6 months, but ultimately you wanted to have the glamour of working with a bank. The third area which has emerged a lot in recent times is a lot of banks are hiring students and getting them trained by B schools and putting them on to different roles. So you are a BCom, you do a 1-year customized program which is co-created by the bank and the B school, and immediately you are absorbed by the bank. It's almost a bank guarantee. Sorry, that's a fun word. It's a job guarantee given by the bank. So as soon as you finish the course, the bank absorbs you immediately. So many institutions are doing this also. For example, Manipal does it. ITM does it in a big way. Why I'm emphasizing this is, I feel in India today, there is an unfortunate scenario that a lot of people cannot afford to study masters. They need a job after bachelor's urgently to support the family. In which case, this is a damn good option in the banking financial services, now extended to insurance stream also. Take it up. After a couple of years, give up your job, take a full-time MBA, and then see your career skyrocketing. Back to you.
So I think one person, this is the last question, sir, I promise you this. You know, a person who's done graduation in economics, what is the path that he or she must take?
Well, the student has to decide if there is an inclination to research, publication, then do a master's in economics. London School of Economics is the mecca of such places. Everybody wants to go there. It's highly aspirational. So that's one. If you are very keen to get into banking, insurance, financial services, then there's a lot of demand for professionals like you. I must tell you, there are many companies today in the private sector who have an entire department called economists, and there is a chief economist for the organization. If you look at the Tata Group, if you look at the Birla Group, they have a chief economist. The role of this person is to continuously analyze what is happening in the economy and what is the impact of every little thing happening in the economy on business. If there is something happening in the agriculture sector, how is going to impact the food industry? If there's something happening in the transportation industry, then how is it going to affect my business? So the entire aspect of economic analysis is a niche area now. If you love your economics, please stay on into that area. If I sound very direct, please don't do an MBA. Get on to masters in economics, do a PhD in economics, and you'll see a roaring career for yourself.
Sir, thank you so much. It's been a real pleasure in terms of the way we went about, you went about answering the questions.
My
it was
pleasure.
Actually a thorough pleasure for me. And I will be coming back to you, sir, because I think this time we've done, post-graduation courses, but I think there is a greater need for us to, dive deeper into some of these areas.
I'll be happy to associate. Career counseling is my hobby, and at any given point in time, I'm happy to be part of this.
And for the students, let me tell you what Professor Mani has said would also be transcribed, and the YouTube video and on Facebook and all the video would be live, so that you can check it out at any point in time. And the website also would have the transcription of that, so that you can actually get your question and answer. So it will be split into that, so that you exactly know what you are searching for and get there. And we'll be coming back to Professor Mani very soon, because I think this has been an enlightening session more for me than anyone else, and I'm sure the students benefited.
I'm honored. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Sir. Good luck. God bless.
Thanks, Robin.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Robin. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Professor.